Greetings, fellow earthlings, and welcome to Tales from the Hoop, a podcast dedicated to diving into the weird, wild, and wacky stories from basketball history. I am your host, Ricky Freck, and today I'm telling a story from the land of churros to my brother.
Laser Dave.
So I think I've given it away, but any guesses for what team we're talking about today in
The
our,
churros.
yeah, I think this is our 10th ABA episode, so we have three more after this, 13, lucky 13. Maybe how many episodes
The
are ABA?
churros. The Long Island Carnivals.
The Long Island. Where did you come up with that? The
That's
Long
when I get
Island
think of when
Carnivals?
I think of a churro, I think of a carnival or like a boardwalk. Um,
Okay. And you associate carnivals with Long Island specifically?
isn't that don't they have like a big attraction on Long Island? It's like a big carnival
I I
right by
guess, but
Nathan's hot
that's not
dogs.
is that a carnival? What is the definition of a carnival? What does Webster's dictionary call a carnival? Because to me, a
Oh,
carnival
an
has to
amusement
move
park.
around.
Sorry, yeah. Yeah, Long Island
Okay.
is an amusement park, not a
I
carnival. My
associate
bad.
a carnival with the
Amusement parks is a worse name. Carnival's not a great name, but amusement park is worse.
I think they would call it an arcade. I associate carnival with the Woodward Rodeo, because that's where we used to hold our carnivals in Woodward,
Hmm.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Was right
I'm
next to
just
the
saying, like,
rodeo.
if you were gonna if you were in a attraction themed area and you needed a mascot, carnivals would be the best one.
Okay.
More so
You
than
think
like
so? Not like
roller. It could be roller coasters. It could be.
clowns? Clowns aren't a carnival.
You don't want to be a
That's a
clowns.
circus.
Yeah, you don't want to be a clowns either. That's
Why not? You could be like the
people
fun
that
team.
the headlines write themselves when you
What do you
lose. I
mean?
mean, that's
If they were called the Orlando Clowns and they were like the fun team that had a good time, they would be great.
Orlando clowns Long Island again. That's, I mean, it's just going to be horrible.
I think they should change it to the Mickeys, the Orlando Mickeys,
The Mickeys.
and all the players have to wear the Mickey ears when they play. Talk to me, Disney.
Yeah.
I know what's up. All right. Robert Folson was born in 1927 in Dallas, Texas. After graduating from Sunset High School, where he was a standout athlete and student, Folsom went to the United States Military Academy at West Point, where he played football and basketball.
Ooh, dual sport athlete. What's the acronym for that college?
West Point?
West
That's
Point.
that's Army. That's the Army.
Okay, okay.
United States Military Academy is Army.
I was mixing that up with MIT, I think. I don't pay attention to the
The
colleges.
Massachusetts Institute of Technology is
Can
the.
I be honest?
Go
This is
ahead,
maybe
please.
a hot take, but once you're past like Philadelphia, it's all the same to me. Every college up there, all the same. Like all the sports teams kind of mesh together, except maybe the
Really?
Celtics. Yeah, it's
Even
all
like
just
like the
it's like
Patriots?
New England, you know?
Oh,
Yeah,
did you?
Patriots, Giants, Jets. They all. I guess the Patriots don't suck anymore, but last couple of years they've it's all just been bad.
That is wow. Okay, sure. If you want to say that, I mean, it is. I will say that there is something to it. The fact that the bad New York teams are the Mets, Jets, and Nets, so they're all rhymed together. So I
Yeah.
see. I'm not getting confused by that, but there is
Tell me how
something
that
there.
makes sense, you know?
I think they just thought it was funny or like a clever
They're being
marketing
bad on
ploy.
purpose.
No, no, the
Oh,
naming.
okay.
I don't think they want to be bad
They're
on
like, it
purpose.
rhymes, so we must be bad.
No, I don't think that's. And I think the Mets are going to get very good very quickly. They have a lot of money, and unlike like Steve Ballmer, they are not restrained.
Can't beat Shohei.
We'll see. We'll see.
Sorry.
Man, it was a great World Series
It was a great.
as baseball goes. If a baseball game can be great, those were great games.
As
And
someone who watched seven baseball
you watched all
games,
seven?
yeah.
Wow, look at
I mean,
you.
not like start to finish, but I had them on like toward the end every time.
But man, it
I
would have been
watched
great.
Shohei win.
Would have been great if Toronto had won that. Unfortunate.
Sorry.
Would have been great if a small market team that barely spends any money had beaten the big giants in LA.
Sorry, Canada. Our sport,
It's really our sport is hockey
basketball.
because I don't think that a Canadian team has won since like the early 90s.
Yeah,
Just-
Florida needs to stop being good at hockey. That doesn't
It's
seem
really
right.
weird. It's really,
Yeah.
really weird. Okay. On the gridiron, Folsom played in two games of the century. So essentially, what these were back in the day, they would call it the game of the century when the number one
Okay.
team would play the number two team.
Okay.
And
Fun.
even though it's a game of the century, which if I was alive in the 40s, I would be annoyed at this as someone who hates the term generational,
Yeah.
because they happened in back-to-back years.
Seems like game of the year would be appropriate,
Yeah.
but
So in 1945, they played against Navy, and President Truman came to that game. It was so hyped up. And in 1946, they played against Notre Dame.
okay. Wow.
Army pretty much demolished Navy, 32-13, which is just, pretty much a drubbing at that point in time,
Yeah.
especially when it's supposed to be the number one. They're both undefeated, number one versus number two, and the number one team just whoops them. The Notre Dame game was a different story as the two undefeated teams played to a 0-0 draw. So lots of excitement in that one. After 2 years at Army, Folsom transferred back home to Southern Methodist. At SMU, he became the only athlete in school history to letter in four sports: football, basketball,
Good Lord.
baseball, and track.
Yeah, that's impressive.
He played
Like why too? Like I don't know. I guess
why?
it was different back then, but
Yeah.
it's like at that level, focus on one or two max. It's
I mean,
crazy.
I think there is something to be said. Not so much, I don't think you could do it today as well, but if you're like a middling player in all those sports, but still good, obviously, right?
Yeah,
Like you're probably, he was not going to make it to the NFL, right? So he doesn't necessarily need to just focus on football like some of the other guys did.
I see what you're
He
saying.
was not going to make it in basketball, right? So if
Might
he
as
could,
well spread it around. Yeah.
yeah. Although it's kind of weird because nowadays, if you play multiple, you're probably like one of the best at one of those sports and then
Yeah.
halfway decent at, because like Jameis Winston played football and baseball at Florida State. Um,
Didn't know that.
Deion Sanders obviously is famous for that.
Never heard
Uh,
of him.
who's the guy? Golden Tate played baseball at Notre Dame in addition to playing football. Um, I mean, like Tyreek Hill ran track for Oklahoma State when he was playing there. So, you know, it definitely still happens, but it's much more rare. So he played
Yeah.
alongside Doak Walker in 1948 and was a co-captain on the 1949 Mustangs team that won the Cotton Bowl. And in 1944, Folsom placed first in the Southwestern Conference's high jump competition.
Hmm.
So, not the best athlete, but pretty solid. Once he graduated, Folsom quickly got into the real estate business. By the 60s, he was one of the biggest names in Dallas and had amassed a huge fortune and was looking to get back into sports.
Okay.
So
Fun.
here is Lee Mead talking about a ABA league meeting, one of the very early ones. I remember a league meeting where, and excuse me, before I continue, I should say, when I say it's a quote, it's from Terry Pluto's Loose Balls book. And then
Okay.
most of the other sources, most of the other information comes from rememberingtheaba.com. So here's Lee Mead. I remember a league meeting where the various owners were saying what their net worth was. Guys were saying a few million. Maybe one guy said 10 million. Bob Folsom's group was worth $480 million.
Good Lord.
So
That's a lot
roughly,
of real estate.
so in between what 48 and 480 times what the other owners were worth.
He must have been getting some NIL checks to get started. That's crazy.
And let me tell you this, that's the quote from Loose Balls. When I looked it up on Remembering the ABA, they said conservative estimates of Bob Folsom's group, because it wasn't just him, his group's net worth was $750 million.
Good Lord.
So lots of money in Dallas. But the team needed a name for the inaugural season. So, as the story goes, the owners decided they were going to meet at the Sheraton Dallas Hotel. And
Okay.
that hotel had a club, an exclusive club called the Chaparral Club. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Do you know what a chaparral is?
Horse.
A good guess, but incorrect.
Damn.
So one of them looked at the napkin that their drink was sitting on, and they saw the famous Chaparral Roadrunner, because that's what a chaparral is
Oh, okay.
apparently,
Yeah, yeah.
and decided that Chaparral would be a good name. So they decided to call themselves the Dallas Chaparrals, which is a solid name and a pretty good logo. And actually, you can look, I think it was in 2012 that the team this becomes, which I'll just go ahead and tell you right now, is the Spurs, actually
Mm.
brought back the Chaps jerseys. And I think they should bring it back more often. Way better than their
Shit.
city jerseys this year.
Interesting. I don't think I've seen the city jerseys.
They're mid. I mean, I think the ones they had 2 years ago were much better. Anyways, uh,
Anyways.
they had a logo. They had a good owner group. They had a bunch of money. They needed some players. So I've told this story before. I believe it was in our first episode about the ABA. So I'm going to go over it quickly. There was a man on the team, one of the money men named Roland Speth. And another guy, I believe it was Terry Stimbridge, but I could be incorrect about that, was like basically doing all the scouting and like running of the team. One guy
Hmm.
was doing all the running of the team. Roland Speth was just was one of the money guys.
Yeah.
The inaugural draft, the guy who was doing all the scouting
Yep.
had made a list of players and gave it to Speth before the game or before the draft, and was like thought he was going to be going to the draft so he could help the team draft. 2 days later, Speth called him and he was like, "Hey, we did the draft." And the guy was like, "What do you mean we did the draft? Why wasn't I informed?" And he was like, "Oh, it's okay. I got the first 5 players on your list."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And the guy said, "Roland, that was an alphabetical list, not an order of what order you should draft them."
Love it.
So that was how
All time story.
the Dallas Chaparrals picked their first roster. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The ownership had a ton of money, but they didn't want to spend it.
Hmm.
So they didn't really, after they did that first draft, they didn't really do much. The only thing they really did was bringing in a player coach named Cliff Hagan.
I mean, I really can't blame them. Normally, I would say like you got to spend money to grow, but after this has already happened, after this draft fiasco has already happened, I'm just like, let's take a year or two off and like let's try again later. We'll put some money in the future. That's crazy.
I think you're correct in assuming that, but I do also want to say that like so many teams were so underwater with money that you could just I mean, you would
Mm, yeah,
trade for cash considerations, right?
yeah.
So
They could
if
have
you
bought their
really
way
wanted
to
to make a team, you could have made a team.
competitiveness. Yeah.
So they brought in Cliff Hagan, right? Cliff Hagan was an all-star in the late 50s and early 60s, and then he retired the year before the ABA opened its doors in 1966.
Okay. Yep.
So they brought him in. He decided he was going to come out of retirement and he was going to play, not just coach. He would play at 36 years old.
That's fun.
Now, we've all seen LeBron, right? We know old players can
Yeah.
play.
Easy.
Uh, Cliff
Better
Hagan,
at 36 than he was at 23.
LeBron?
That's what I was meaning, but I was a
Oh,
joke.
I mean, in some ways, he's a better three-point shooter. In his very first game of ABA action, Cliff Hagan dropped a cool 40 points
Good Lord.
and proved that he still had it, at least in a league that was filled with a lot of guys who couldn't make it to the ABA.
Yeah, fair
Uh,
enough. But
now, I'm
still,
not.
that 40 is impressive no matter what you're playing.
Let me be clear: there were good players, but you know,
Yeah,
he made it to the All Star game. He was the first player in basketball history to make the NBA and ABA All Star games because of that. Now he
that's
was
so
30.
fun. Wow.
Good for him.
That's like a really good banner to put on your wall, you know?
Yeah. In addition, yeah. The sorry. So he was 36, and
Okay.
the rest of the chaps were all under 25. So it was a very young roster, but not very many of them were very good. But a couple of them did have something. So there was a guy named Bob Verga. He was averaging 24 points a night at the start of the season. So pretty solid, little shooting guard. Then he
His
got
name
hurt.
sounds kind of like a Star Wars character,
Bob Verga.
yeah, like a bounty hunter, Bob Verga.
You think there's a Star Wars character named Bob?
No, Bob Verga.
You know, obviously the Verga part, but do you think there is a Star Wars character out there currently? Not, I'm not saying this man. Do you
Yeah,
think there's someone out there named Bob?
yeah.
There's someone named Boba,
I'll,
but
that
there's no
you're
Bob.
proving my point right there.
What do you mean?
Bob is just short for Robert, so I'm sure Boba goes by Bob sometimes.
I mean, I guess there is a Luke. That's relatively like there's not a lot of normal names in Star Wars.
That's true.
It's kind of like when you we're watching. Do you watch this Physical 100 show on Netflix?
I saw an ad for that. I've never
So currently
partaken.
they're doing Physical Asia, which is a bunch of Asian countries going up against each other. Now,
Okay.
Australia is involved, so they have what you would consider relatively like European names, right? So
Okay.
I don't know any of the actually to be honest with you, the only one I remember his name is Robert Whitaker, right? So he's a Bob, right?
Okay.
That's normal. There's a guy from the Philippines, I think he's Filipino. His name is Jeremiah. And to me, that's like a strange name for someone from the Philippines to have. Nothing
Yeah.
against it, right? Because, there's a bunch of, everyone else has a more Filipino sounding name, if I can say that and not be considered
Canceled. A lot of
canceled.
times when people like move to a different culture, they change
Yeah.
they like adopt a second name. So it could be one of those
That's what I think is
situations. So
happening. Because he speaks very good English. He's one of the few that actually just does all of his interviews in English and doesn't have any sort of accent.
yeah.
Um, but you'll get names that sound Asian, right? From all
Right.
the countries, and you'll randomly get like a there goes Jeffrey, and you're like, that's a strange. I mean, nothing wrong with it. It's just like
Yeah.
it's surprising. Okay,
If I ever
um,
moved, I think I would go with a different name.
like like Mateo. What could you go with?
Ooh, yeah. Anywhere in South America, I'd love a Mateo.
Okay,
If I moved to like Ireland, I'd just pick like a very Irish last name. I wouldn't even have a first name. Just be like,
Ofrek.
there goes O'Malley.
Oh, you wouldn't even do like you wouldn't do your own name.
O'Shaughnessy. Oh no. Like a
Ofrek.
an Irish sounding name.
Yeah. Ofrek. That's not really Irish. Never mind.
Oh frick and no, that's not there's no
Not
way to
gonna work.
make it
Okay, so
Irish.
Bob Verga, the Star Wars character, was dropping 24 points a night, but he got hurt after 31 games, so he didn't make it very deep into the season. Their center, John Beasley, was putting up 20 and 13, and a guy that you probably don't know, but if anyone listening plays 2K might know this guy because he's like very good in 2K. Cincy Powell was giving the
Okay.
team 18 points a night. His real name is Cincinnatius, which is great.
That's amazing. Where's he from?
I assuming
Okay.
Cincinnati, but I don't know.
Um, why is he such a good 2K player? Like, what's the specifics
It's just
on?
like
It's a weird thing to stick out.
so there's certain guys. So if you don't play 2K, which to be clear, I don't play 2K anymore, so I'm probably speaking up my butt a little bit. This is like 2K21
Okay.
2K. Uh, there's like people have they give them certain jump shots, right? Like specifically Dante Exum. If you have
Okay.
Exum base, that's like the thing you wanted back in the day. And I don't know if he had that, but like taller wing players that could play guard were kind of the meta. And I
It's like
remember
a
him being one of those.
okay.
Like Bob Nitolicki is like weirdly a 2K legend
Hmm.
because he's just really good in that game because of the
Fun.
stats they give him.
I kind of like that. Let's just make random players. I mean, I guess like I know what you're saying going back to like 2K8,
Yeah.
there would just be
Like Jason
guys that
Capono.
yeah, it was like their 3-point shooting
Yeah.
form was easier to time than others.
Yeah.
And so you'd just be knocked down with like the most random
Yeah.
power forwards.
Yeah. That's pretty much exactly what's happening here.
Okay.
Okay, so the Chaps did make the playoffs that first year, but they lost to our old friends, people we know very well from this podcast series, Larry Brown and Doug Moe's New
Yep.
Orleans Buccaneers in the
Clean it up.
Western Finals. They are always good. In year two, Dallas had big hopes for rookie 7 foot center John Smith, not the guy in Pocahontas. Unfortunately, he wasn't any good on offense, excuse me. So most of the scoring fell to Powell and Beasley because Hagan was starting to show his age. He only played in 35 games that year, and that would be the last time he would really play. The next year, he just started coaching pretty much exclusively. Now, the good thing about that season was a guy they drafted, I believe, in the 8th round, Ron Boone, who we have talked about on this podcast before, because as we'll talk about later, he eventually ends up with the Utah Stars, was a fun surprise that first season, dropping 19 points a night. And the team did make the playoffs, but they got dropped in the first round once again. Or no, actually, first round for the first time. They made it actually to the second round the first year. My
Okay.
apologies.
Oh,
The next year, Hagen's boys started the season 22 and 21. And for some reason, they just decided to get rid of the coach.
I mean, hey, if it's not working.
I mean, it is they're 500 basketball.
I'm just saying every team ever that's like not meeting the expectations their owner wants, just that's the first thing. It's like get rid of the coach.
Yeah. Well, so they're act. I said there they didn't we didn't know the reasons. There's actually a couple reasons we know. Cincy missed most of the season because he broke his jaw and sprained his ankle, so
Sheesh,
they didn't
okay.
have one of their best players. And Hagen was known for being a massive hard ass. The team was tired of him constantly screaming at them all the time. He basically was coaching them like you were coached in, I don't know, high school, just screaming at them all the time, not treating them like adults.
Okay.
So they got rid of him, and it's really great. So at the time, they were being ran by a general manager named Max Williams. And Max Williams had, I think he played maybe at SMU or something. He played a little bit of college basketball, and then he wanted to be the announcer, and it didn't work out. I believe, I think I remember, I didn't write this down, but I think I'm remembering this story right. It didn't work out for some reason because, like, the guy told him he was going to listen to his tapes to the main owner and then never gave them to Bob Folsom. And so Bob Folsom was just like, I've never heard you do any announcing, but you can be our
Mm.
general manager. And so he was the GM, and then he took over as head coach after Hagen lost. He did get them back to the playoffs, but once again, they lost in the first round.
Mm.
And throughout all of this, despite the team having so much money, being in Dallas, which obviously was a very large city, attendance was always bad. They were lucky to draw more than 100 fans per game.
Good Lord. That's crazy. That just seems, I don't know, like
Yeah.
like a foreign number, like a made up sci-fi
I
movie number.
I
That's
think
crazy.
I think by the end of their run they were average like throughout their whole time they had been averaging 2,000 fans a game. But early days it was pretty bad. So the owners decided to do the thing that always works in the ABA. Please tell the people what happened, Dave.
Uh, Regional playing games elsewhere. I don't know. I forget the term for it, but
They
they
made it
played in
a
Houston and Austin and San Antonio and
none of those cities, but they made it a regional team for the 1971 season. They became the Texas Chaparrals, playing games
ooh,
in Fort Worth, Lubbock, and Dallas.
what?
Yeah,
That's nuts. That's not the three.
Lubbock.
If you told me there are three different cities, that's not. Lubbock is like on the list, but it's not high.
I would argue.
Fort Worth also.
Let me just say something that anyone listening to this is probably going to get very mad at me. Fort Worth and Dallas, that's the same town.
DFW is the same thing. That's
Yeah,
I know a lot
same
of
city.
people, yeah, I know a lot
People
of
get
people don't want it
pissed,
to be, but
don't care.
no.
It's the
Yeah.
same city.
Unless if you're gonna say like I never call New York City, I call Manhattan, Manhattan, and like they're the same. If there's no stoppage when you're driving, it's the same thing.
Exactly. I agree. I agree. Yeah. If there's no yeah, there has to be a stoppage. That's why El Reno. No, is it El Reno? El Reno's different. El
El
Reno's not
Reno.
Oklahoma City, right?
Oh yeah, there's
There's like 10
plenty. There's
miles.
yeah, plenty of. I mean, we claim it.
Why? Why would you want to? Sorry.
So this goes back. I don't like to say it, 70s or 80s. I don't know the whole story,
Uh-huh.
but apparently Oklahoma. For this is a fun Oklahoma history lesson for everybody.
Mm.
At some point, we like redistricted. We gerrymandered basically
Oh, okay. That
to
makes sense
become
given the
the
state.
largest city by land area. Like our mayor just
Such a
wanted
joke.
to be number
Such a
one at
joke.
something.
Yeah.
And so the Oklahoma City city limit sign is like 42 miles away from what you would consider to be like a city. And
Incredible.
and then in I think the 2000s or 2010s, Jacksonville had added enough land area that they became number one over us.
Oh no.
And so we did it again, like pretty recently.
That's
And now I'm telling you, if you ever drive into Oklahoma City, you will be so surprised at the sign that says Oklahoma City city limits because you're like, I there's not this is farmland. This isn't a
it's literally
city.
just the state of Oklahoma. The state of Oklahoma is now Oklahoma
At
City.
a certain point, it's gonna be that way. It's nuts.
Incredible. Okay, so as we all know, of course, the regional model always works. But for
Always.
some reason, in this case, the experiment didn't even make it through the season.
Oh no. Probably
In
because
a
it's in Lubbock. Sorry. I'm just
well,
joking.
well, in a January game, 200 fans showed up to a game in Fort Worth. So the owners just canceled the rest of the games in that city in the season.
Yeah, Fort Worth, not surprising at all.
and
Especially back then.
yeah,
So much of Fort Worth's growth has been a
Jerry
lot more
World.
recent than that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the team was officially just back in Dallas after less than a year. They spent most of that season in the early. This is also great. The team spent most of the early season in last place. So GM and coach Max Williams fired himself. He said, "You're not. I'm not going to be the coach anymore,"
I can't do this.
and brought in a guy named Bill Blakely.
Okay.
Then they decided, hey, you know what we should do? Let's trade away our two best players, Glenn Combs and Ron Boone, to the Stars, the Utah Stars, for Donnie Freeman and Wayne Hightower.
Okay.
So at
We
the
know those
time,
guys.
so at the time, a lot of pundits actually thought Dallas had won the trade because Freeman
Hmm.
was like no one he didn't like the Stars very much, but he was a very good player. Hightower was solid. Glenn Combs was pretty good, but like Ron Boone was kind of not a nothing player, but surplus to requirements for a lot of teams. And
Okay.
to be fair, Freeman was pretty solid during his year and a half with the Chaps, but then he was traded to Indy, and Hightower played in 33 games and was
Hmm.
traded to Carolina after the season because the team wanted money. Meanwhile, Coombs and Boone helped the Utah Stars win a title that very same season.
Dang.
So you don't always need to listen to talking heads, folks,
Yeah.
because they don't know what they're talking
History is
about.
about to repeat itself because, people were slamming Josh Giddey trade, but Chicago's going to win the title this year. So,
No shot.
think about it.
It makes me so mad they're doing well. And
It's the power.
not because of Josh Giddey. I love Josh Giddey.
It's the
Uh,
power of the Giddler.
I love 98% of Josh Giddey. There's that like he needs to stay away from California if you know what I mean. But I really hate Vooch. Really hate him. He's a terrible player. I like
Just saying.
Matas too. Anyways, we'll talk about more modern day stuff later. So the Chaps did play in the 71 playoffs after beating the Rockets, the Denver Rockets, not the Houston Rockets, in a tiebreaker to make the playoffs. But then they came up against who else? Boone, Combs, and the Stars, who swept the Chaps out of the playoffs in short order. So great trade, guys.
Yikes.
In 72, the Chaps were back in Dallas full time and signed Tom Nasalk. And I might be mispronouncing that. I really meant to look it up and I didn't as their head coach.
It's on his parents, not on you. Don't worry.
So Nasalk had been a coach. I think he was a assistant coach in the NBA for a long time. And in
Okay.
his very first year as a head coach in the ABA, the team finished in third place. He won the ABA Coach of the Year. But once again, the Stars swept them out of the playoffs.
Sheesh.
So, okay. So now it is the about to be the start of the 1973 season, and things got a little ugly. So here's Steve Jones kind of describing the situation. Okay. Several other black players were traded, and soon half of our roster was white. The feeling among the black players was that management wanted to get as many white guys as it could to help attendance. Some public statements were made by the front office that they thought white players would give the team some fan appeal.
Okay.
And Terry Pluto continues, the black players refused to continue attending training camp until the front office issued a retraction after making a statement about making that statement, which it did, but only after Jones went to the front office and demanded one. So things were not in the best place between relations between players and the ownership.
Yeah, I'd say.
And that did not turn out to be a very good thing for the season because, for whatever reason, the Dallas ownership decided, you know what we don't need to do is keep our reigning ABA Coach of the Year winner on the
Oh
team.
God.
So they were like, he said, "Hey, I kind of want to go talk to the Sonics about leaving." They're like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. Talk to the Sonics. Go for it." And so he just went and coached the Supersonics. He just left. So they
Okay.
brought in a guy named Babe Magnolia Mouth McCarthy,
Oh,
who
way better name anyway. Who needs that guy?
I think we might have briefly spoken about in the Indiana episode, but we will be talking about him much more when we get to Kentucky, uh, because he is a legendary coach. Unfortunately, his run in Texas did not go very well. The team went 24-48, and then he was fired. And for the first time in its history, Dallas wasn't in the playoffs, and the owners were looking to make a change. Actually, they'd been looking to make a change for a while. Here is a guy named Dave Overpeck. This is Dave Overpeck from the Basketball Weekly describing how the season was going or went. Covering
Okay.
a Chaparrals game is a lot like going to a wake. In the ABA, it's not unusual to go into a town knowing that the club won't be there next year, but the Chaparrals are different. Never, not even in the floating craps game of the ABA, has it been announced so early that a team is leaving town before next season. The crowds aren't down that much, primarily because they weren't that big in the first place.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Yikes.
So, originally, they wanted to move the team to New Jersey, but that deal fell through. So, management decided to talk to a couple of guys, mainly Red McCombs, who is I believe, was the owner of the Vikings at one point, but not at this point. Um,
Okay.
and
Fun.
and a lot of stuff went through his like main right hand man, Angelo Drozos.
Okay.
So what emerged is one of the more unique deals in sports history because because Dallas didn't sell the team to the San Antonio group.
Hmm.
They leased the team to San
Okay.
Antonio. So
Okay.
here's how Angelo Drozos describes the deal. I knew nothing about. Wait, hold on. Excuse me. I read the wrong one. There's two on the same page. After we made the deal. No, I'm sorry. I read the right one. I apologize. There's a lot of numbers on these pages, and I got
Okay.
confused which one I was supposed to read. I knew nothing about the ABA when I heard from a friend in the advertising business that he had been contacted by some people in Dallas about buying the Chaparrals. I had never seen an ABA game, but the Houston Rockets of the NBA had played 7 games in San Antonio, and I had a season ticket for all 7 games. I went to Dallas to talk to Bob Folsom and Joe Geary, and the Dallas people said, "We will loan you the team for 2 years, but you have to have $800,000 of working capital." They figured it would take 400 grand a year to operate the team. Then, after 2 years, if we wanted to own the team, we'd pay them another $800,000.
Okay.
Okay, so what you need to know about Angelo Drozos is he is one of the smoothest operators you will ever meet or ever hear about. You probably won't meet him. He might be dead. I don't know. In in your life. And so what he would do basically is he would go to owners like Virginia's Earl Foreman, who was bleeding money, and just basically like sweet talk his way into taking their players for money. So
Yeah.
they brought in Sven Nader, who would go on to be Rookie of the Year that year. Uh, in fact, really, to be honest with you, Virginia was struggling so much with money. You could almost say that Drozos just built his team by fleecing Foreman. So
Hmm.
I'm about to read a story about like to kind of illustrate how he did his dealings, and it actually doesn't work out for him, to be fair. But this is kind of like how he tried to operate. It's not about Foreman; it's about him trying to sign George Karl out of North
Okay.
Carolina. So
Yeah.
George Karl, the coach who was a player at the time. So here he's just talking about he's talking about his how the deal went to try to get George Karl. So we got to talking about money. I really didn't know anything about Karl, although I knew. You'll notice that a lot. He says I didn't know anything about the thing I wanted, but he wanted it. Uh, although I knew that North Carolina was a good basketball school, I certainly had no idea what to pay him. I talked to his lawyer for several weeks, and we were still about $40,000 apart. I am an avid tennis player, and I play practically every day. His lawyer wanted to set up an appointment to talk about George's contract, but I said I couldn't talk then because I had a tennis match. The lawyer seemed interested in tennis, so I said, "Why don't you come to San Antonio? We'll play tennis and then talk about George's contract." Then a light went on in my head. I said, "Tell you what, I'll play you for George's contract.
Heck yeah. I love these guys.
If you win, you get what you want for George. If I win, you take my offer." There was a long silence on the phone, and he said, "Angelo, I don't think you want to do that." I said, "Why not?" He said, "I don't think you can beat me. It wouldn't be fair to you." I was getting upset. I'm proud of my tennis, and I'm a player. I'm an A player. He said, "Angelo, I played a lot of tennis at a very high level. So I suggest we work this out some other way." It turned out that the lawyer was Donald Dell, who had played at Wimbledon and was on the Davis Cup team.
Good Lord.
We never did play for George's contract, but if Dell had insisted I stick to the bargain, I would have. George eventually signed with us, and I was glad Dell did call because George was a solid player for us. But that's the kind of thing I do in the beginning. I challenge a guy to tennis to play for a contract. I really had no idea what would happen that first season or how you were supposed to do business. I was figuring out as I was going along, the whole organization did.
Oh, it's nuts. I love it.
Okay, so so here we go. We're going into the full Drozos experience here because the team before they got any of the rest of their players, they needed a name. They didn't want to be the San Antonio Chaparrals. They wanted their own name. So they decided first they're going to call themselves the San Antonio. What's your guess?
Colts.
Good guess. No, not quite. Any other guesses?
Um, Alamos.
Come on. Really? It's almost as bad as
No.
Thunder.
Shoot. The San Antonio. How racist is it? Any at
Not
all?
at all.
Okay.
Not even
And
a
it's
little bit.
then it's gonna be
I don't
horse
think so.
themed.
It's not horse themed.
Really?
No.
Is it farm themed?
I would say it's maybe similar to their current name is cowboy themed.
Okay, cowboy themed. A Spurs
No,
horse themed.
that's what they become on. Spurs, that's a cowboy thing. You can wear spurs and not have a horse.
That's true. What's the point though? Isn't the point your horse?
I
It
have no
doesn't
idea.
matter.
I don't know. I'm
Um,
not a cowboy. I mean, I am a cowboy, but not a cowboy. You know what I mean?
well, let's argue about it in the comments. Let's go with the revolver, the shooters.
The gunslingers, very
Let's go.
close. But then before the season, and no one really knows why they decided to change it. I mean, maybe there was like connotations. I don't know. But there was like maybe it was a fan vote, maybe it was owners just decided they wanted to change it, but they did change it to the Spurs before the season started. Another thing Drozos did was bring back Tom Nisalk. So they had their coach back for the 1974 season.
Nice.
So he was
Yeah.
out. He was out
Might
for
as
like a year
well.
or two. Yeah, he's a good coach. So the Spurs had Nisalk as their coach. Drozos had signed Sven Nader before the season from the cash trap Squires, and a month later, Squires owner Foreman needed money once again. So here is Drozos. This is a this one's a little bit of a long one, but it's very important we read this. In fact, I think the next two are pretty long, but then those will be our last two quotes.
Okay.
But here's Drozos talking about the next deal that happened. A month after the Nader deal, I heard that Earl Foreman was in money trouble again, so I got on the phone. I said, Earl, I need another player, and I'm willing to buy another player from you. Earl said, listen, I can't just sell you George Carter. He's my best player, and it will devastate the franchise. I said, I don't want Carter. I want George Gervin. Earl said, Gervin? George is just a kid. He's not even 20 yet. I said, I'll give you $225,000 for him. There was a long silence on the phone. I knew that money always got Earl's attention. Earl said, Angelo, I just can't do that. The All Star game is in Virginia in a couple of months. If I trade Gervin, I'll have no one at the game. Our fans won't like it. Gervin is our future. I lost Charlie Scott. I traded Sven Nader. I traded Julius Irving. I traded Rick Barry. I can't trade Gervin too.
Good Lord. Yeah, I would say so.
But I knew that he would trade Gervin for the same reason he traded all those other players money. I said, Earl, suppose we do a delayed delivery deal. Earl said, what do you mean? I said, I'll pay you the $225,000 now. We'll wait until right after the All Star game, and then you deliver Gervin to me. Until then, you can keep him. Earl said, all right. I don't believe I even told Tom Nisalk, and I don't think Earl told Al Bianchi, who was the Squires coach at the time. Word never leaked out until the All Star game.
Dang.
Of course, it wasn't all that simple. Couldn't, when push came to shove, it got to the All Star game, the deal leaked, and Foreman decided he would not go through with the deal. So here's Drozos describing the fallout of Foreman's decision. When the All Star game was over, I said to Foreman, let's have a press conference and announce the deal. Foreman said, I can't give you Gervin. I just can't. I had to tell the commissioner about it because the deal was illegal. I obviously didn't agree. But then we brought Mike Storin into the room, who is the commissioner.
Mm.
Storin said, Angelo, I'm going to tell you what I'll do. You can have your choice of any player on the Virginia roster except Gervin. You can have your money back plus 10% interest as a penalty on Earl. And you can even have George Carter if you want him. I said, no, we made a deal for Gervin. That's the player I want. Storin said, you can't have him. I'm not approving that. I said, I'm sorry, Mike, but a deal's a deal, and that's the deal. Storin said, then you don't have any deal. And I said, we'll see. You take your best shot at me, I'll take my best shot at you. Storin wouldn't give us Gervin because he had played for the Squires while he was on our property, which was illegal. Even though, while he was our property, not he had played for the Squires while he was technically under contract
Okay,
with the
yeah,
other, sorry, which was illegal, even though only 3 people in the world knew about it, and Gervin wasn't one of them.
yeah.
I went back to San Antonio determined to get Gervin. Right after the All Star game, Virginia was playing in Utah. I called Gervin and said, if you step on that floor for the Squires tonight, I'm going to have federal marshals pull you right out of the gym because we have your contract. Gervin called his agent, Irvin Weiner. Great name. I didn't know Weiner from Adam, but he called me and said that Gervin was very nervous. Then he said, Angelo, George says you have his contract. Do you really have his contract? I said, yes. Weiner said, will you indemnify us if I bring him to San Antonio? This meant, would I protect Gervin from any sort of loss or legal action because of breach of contract? I said I would. Then Weiner called George and came to San Antonio, where I negotiated a new contract with them. Then I got a telegram from Storin saying, every game that Gervin is in your town, you will forfeit. If the player does not report back to Virginia by tomorrow night, you are going to be suspended from the league. I sent a telegram back to him saying, fuck you, a stronger letter will follow. Storin then sued us, but it was in federal court in San Antonio. The judge was a family friend and a Spurs season ticket holder. The judge listened politely to Storin's lawyer. Then he said, I find for Mr. Drozos. That's how we got Gervin. A few years later, I got a funny letter from Storin saying, you may have Gervin now, but you'll never keep him as long as there's justice in the courts of Texas. Affectionately, Mike Storin.
That is insane.
So basically, they did an illegal trade, and then they couldn't get it. Essentially, they just didn't want. They were trying to keep Virginia Squires afloat. They didn't want
Right.
the league didn't want to lose that team, and they knew if they lost Gervin, they would lose the team. They did lose. They lost Gervin. They lost the team, and maybe it hurt the. As we've talked about, the ABA was very interested in like what is good for the ABA, not necessarily what is good for every team.
Each team, yeah.
Angelo Drozos did not think like that.
Yeah.
He was only thinking about that himself. So with
Which,
all,
hey, that's, I mean, taking advantage of the market, you know?
yeah.
You love to
So
see it.
with all of that, the team finished in third in the Western Division and lost to the Pacers in 7 in the first round of the playoffs. Still, they had the Iceman and several solid pieces, including, as I said, Sven Nader, who is the reigning Rookie of the Year. And in 75, the Spurs won 51 games, though Nasalk was replaced after 28 games. So he left the team once again, or got fired. They lost to the Pacers again, but were clearly moving in the right direction. Behind Gervin, attendance was soaring. In 1976, the Spurs were easily outdrawing the Houston Rockets in the ABA. They won 50 games and took Dr. J's Nets to 7 in the playoffs, losing to the eventual champs. Later that year, San Antonio was one of the teams to join the NBA in the ABA-NBA merger, thanks in part to its great attendance largely because of George Gervin. Since then, the franchise has won 5 championships and is one of the most consistently good teams in the NBA. Hagan, Gervin, and George Karl all made the Hall of Fame, while Gervin's 44, and a guy we didn't talk about very much but was there most of this time, James Silas, is 13, are 2 of the 10 numbers the Spurs have retired.
Hmm.
And that is how the Spurs survived the ABA, one of the few teams. I think it's the Spurs and Indiana are the only teams that have never moved. Well, no, they did move. They're from Dallas. Never mind.
Hmm. Chaparrals. What a good name.
It's a good name. So there you go.
Spurs
That's
too.
the Spurs. We have left on the docket the Americans/Nets, the Colonels, and the Spirit of St. Louis,
I can't wait.
which will be last. I was just so I was reading at the end of this one some stuff about when they changed over to join the NBA and was reading about what happened to the Spirits or Spirit, excuse me, and I got excited all over again because I can't wait. It's going to be so good.
Great. Can't wait for the Spirit of St. Louis. It's such a good name.
You in particular are going to absolutely love the end game for the Spirit of St. Louis because it's one of the
Anything
greatest.
diabolical, I mean, all of it.
It's diabolical. Yeah, so there you go. Anything you want to talk about? As of this recording, your Thunder have lost their first game of the season,
Oh,
but
dude,
it
brutal.
was I was on social media for that because I was like working on a video and kind of watching the Lakers game versus the Spurs, and people were like trashing Oklahoma City for losing that game to Portland, and I was like they're missing five of their six top minute players in the playoffs. Why are
Yeah,
what?
I think Shea was just playing to have fun. It wasn't even like,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that. I think the Trailblazers have looked pretty decent this year, so I'm not saying
yeah,
that they're bad. But I was just like, this is we're drawing like Oklahoma City is washed because they lost to a relatively decent team with no players playing. That were, like what I mean, Caruso didn't play,
Chet didn't
Chet didn't
play.
play, Dort didn't play, Williams didn't play,
Yeah,
Wallace didn't play.
I'm not that worried about it.
I wouldn't be worried either, but people on the internet were worried.
Um, yeah, it was when we were up by like 20 in the second quarter. I was gonna go to sleep, and then it got close, and I was like, I still am gonna go to sleep because it's the Blazers, and
Yeah,
if our team can't even roll out their best players, then I don't need to stay up and watch it.
yeah, but it's
I
Tiago
will
Splitter's Blazers, so it's different now.
I will give a shout out to NBA League Pass. I don't know how often they've done multi-view,
Uh huh.
but I had it fired up last night. It was great.
I
I love
remember the
just
yeah.
watching like the game that's closest to the end, and then you just flip it out for like the next closest.
Oh, you mean like how the NCAA tournament is for the first week?
Yeah, where you just listen to one, but you have them all on the side
Yeah.
screen.
Uh-huh.
It's great,
I love that.
fantastic.
I feel like ESPN used to do very good like multicast stuff where you could like pull it up on your computer or your screen or whatever and have four football games or whatever going at the same time and you could just click to turn the sound on.
Yeah,
But I feel like they gotten rid of that. And that was I don't know, I feel like that was a
yeah. I
really
don't
good
even know if
feature.
that's a new thing for League Pass, but
I
it
don't know, I
was
haven't
great.
I've
Working
had
great on
League
my TV.
Pass haven't had League Pass in like 2 years because they used to give it out as part of the like most expensive NBA 2K edition. And I get that for free
Oh,
from my job.
yikes.
So,
Yikes.
but I
Insider.
think they stopped doing that. I don't think they give it
Hmm.
out anymore.
I know I don't know what the status of it is this year, but last year they were trying out like a red zone type thing for basketball.
Lots of commercials. Got it.
And if they had that every night, I can't imagine when it wouldn't be on in my house. Like,
Yeah. I mean, Wednesday is a good, I guess, I don't know every Wednesday, but definitely yesterday was really, there were so many games on last night. It was crazy.
yeah, it was nuts. So, yeah, Bulls and Magic,
Oh,
I would
God.
say completely swapped where we thought they'd be.
For now, we'll see.
Nuts. I don't know what's
I,
happening.
I hate the Bulls.
They like monsters them, but you know, it is what it is.
I really hope the Bulls fall off a cliff. For that fan base, I just hope they're terrible.
I mean, yeah, if you could think about if they had gotten like, I mean, obviously, if you say Wimby, like any team that got Wimby, but if you could pair Josh Giddey with like a really good stretch four,
Yeah. Oh, it's
or
Giddy's fault he's not paired with Cooper Flag right now.
oh yeah, because he hit that shot. That's so funny. Yeah, Cooper Flag. I mean, do you even want him? Sheesh,
I really thought, and I
be
know we're
pretty
going back a
terrible.
ways. We probably already talked about this. The very first game that they played, I think they were playing the Spurs, and he went up for a dunk, like his very first shot attempt in the NBA. And I
Yeah.
was like, if he had been able to connect that dunk, I think he would have had. I think him missing that dunk has completely thrown him off.
Oh yikes.
If he had hit that dunk, I think it would be on a tear.
That's like his sliding doors moment.
hmm I
Hmm.
do that. I think he's okay. I don't know. I think it's going to be tough for him because he's like doing a lot of the ball handling, and not that he can't, but they don't have a point guard.
Yeah.
They got nobody. They need Mike
Yeah.
Conley.
D'Angelo Russell starting.
Yeah, D'Angelo Russell. Speaking of which, since we're really deep into this, so only the true fans will be listening. I have
Yeah,
been
shout out to
prepping.
our dad. You suck. So call me out again if you hear this.
He called you out for last week.
Yeah.
How
He
dare
said
he?
we were I forgot what first of all he saw he saw me and explained a trucking term to me that we had been talking about, and
Oh,
then
LLC. Yeah,
he was like, "Don't make fun of me again." So, wherever you are, you suck. I hope you hear this.
yeah. You're the worst. but I have been prepping already for bracket season
Ooh, that's I can't wait.
because I want to do I'm going through and finding the 36, not necessarily so like not the best McDonald's America team, right?
Okay.
Not the whole thing, but like they split them in half. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the 36 best teams, and then we'll match up by matchup. I really think it's going to come down to like two teams, to be honest with you. There's a couple that are just like, whoa, whoa. But
Whoa.
it's not
Can't
always
wait.
it's not ones you think, right? And so far, there's only one year. If people want to look it up, there's only one year that both the teams make it, because I actually think both of the teams. I don't think it's the strongest McDonald's year, but I think most of the teams are actually pretty like solid. Because a lot of teams are like, oh, we have two really good guards and then no bigs,
Right.
so it's
Yeah.
hard to make a team. But this one, I think they both have 1995. Both sides have a pretty
Hmm.
solid team.
Okay. Interesting.
But that's not for another 6 months. So
Can't wait.
I'm glad that I'm doing all the prep work now for whatever reason. All right, we are gonna get out of here. See you all next time. Goodbye.
Peace.